Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Isaac. This is
Alex.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the Council Climate Action Scorecards, which is the only UK-wide assessment of local authority climate action.
Yeah, so the two key data questions we have through the scorecards is how do we, in a world where there isn't a lot of information about this available, build high-quality data on the climate progress being made at the local level, and then how do you use that data in the loop to create more climate progress? And that's what the scorecards do.
Just a little bit about who we are. So Climate Emergency UK, we exist to equip the council climate movement, that's both councils and campaigners, with the information and guidance needed to accelerate place-based climate action and the work of local climate campaigns. We kind of believe that you do need better data, but you actually do need more public accountability, and that's what's going to lead to greater climate action.
Similarly, mySociety, very similar to Theory of Change. So we run They Work For You, What Do They Know? We build big digital infrastructure and use the power of technology to sort of break down barriers and think about how we can join people and data together in useful ways.
Sweet. Just the objectives of the scorecards. So we score every UK council on their climate action. We have two main audiences, councils and campaigners. That's like the public, local residents. And we expect, we hope that councils will use the scorecards to improve and implement more effective policies and take more action. And campaigners will use the scorecards to lobby and push for greater climate action from their council as well. Our methodology, and I think this is what is actually quite special about the scorecards, we don't just focus on the kind of high emission areas like transport or buildings, but we also look at how local government is embedding climate within their governance, within their procedures, within their planning policy, or within how they're collaborating with their businesses or local residents or schools, for example, and helping them reduce emissions. So how do we create the scorecards? Our key partner is obviously mySociety. We had an advisory group who represented the council climate sector, who helped oversee the creation of the scorecards. We did a lot of sector consultation, spoke to 90 individuals or groups. One of the key things about the scorecards as well is that it's a citizen data project. So we had over 200 people actually volunteer that we train to go out and look for the publicly available information to put it together as part of the data set. We use freedom of information requests, so we have, when you include every council, which is about 400 in the UK, we send out almost 4,000 freedom of information requests. We also get councils to engage in the process as well. 76% of UK councils actually responded in the right of reply, which is really, really high engagement in the project. How are the questions scored? We vary the methodology depending on what council type there is, because the UK has an old system of local government that is we won't go into that. Confusing, yeah. We have three different types of data sets. So I mentioned that volunteer research, which answered about 2/3 of the questions. We use some national data, including from national organisations that already compile that. As I said, freedom of information requests as well. The results, obviously, from 2023, when we last produced the scorecards, there are only 41 UK councils that scored over 50%. You can see the range here is really vast, from about 9% up to about 60% for the highest scorers, with the average score around 30% in the scorecards. In terms of the impact that we had, we've had over 170,000 users of the website. We've picked up references of councils using the scorecards, whether that's in reports, in questions, in council meetings, or even referencing the scorecards in press releases. We've trained over 500 residents, partnering with 14 different organisations, and we know dozens of campaign groups are using the scorecards as well. We had over 200 media hits when we launched, and we've been referenced by some of the Skidmore reports that came out. We've been referenced in the Climate Change Committee and also by the Future Generation in Wales as well. This is an actual case study that we're picking up from councils of how the scorecards have worked or increased or led to greater climate action. So South Cambridgeshire said that once Climate UK highlighted this gap, we were able to make the case to senior colleagues there was a need and value in investing staff time into skills and training on climate change. They massively expanded their carbon literacy programme, and it's now led to a greater understanding of climate throughout the organisation in stimulating climate action from the different departments as well.
Yeah, so behind the scenes of all this fun stuff is sort of how do we do the baseline technical things behind the scenes. So to get to the point where you can ask these questions about sector-specific stuff, we need the basic foundational data sets. So at a very basic level, we need a list of all local authorities, which effectively mySociety now maintains, taking on what was previously produced by the government and the Registers Project. Similarly, we've had to stitch together various official data sets, such as a UK-wide IMD, to create useful frame-ins for ways of exploring this data. The way that lots of this data is produced through crowdsourcing, we produced a unique crowdsourcing software for this project that both helps volunteers gather information and evidence for each question, helps Climate Imagine oversee the results, but also inside the same platform provides a right of reply to authorities. So local authorities get an email with a sign-in, they can then go in and see their own marks, leave comments, Climate Imagine then review that, audit that, and this all happens inside the same platform. So we sort of got a nice automated version of the climate emergency flow. On the freedom of information request, that made up a number of questions on the projects. What Do They Know is our site where people can make freedom of information requests, and the results of these are then available to be seen in the public. A project we're running inside this is something we call What Do They Know projects, and what this sort of combines is the ability to send one request to many authorities, but then add a crowdsourcing layer on the back of that. So say a question was asked to all the district councils, climate emergency volunteers could then log into something within What Do They Know and extract the answers to questions inside What Do They Know that they can be piped back to Grace to put the results back together. So in that way, we're trying to make it easier to get information out of it, freedom of information, and back into more structured forms that can be combined with other forms of data.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I don't really understand some of the stuff that happens. We released our scorecards successes report exactly last year, which is actually quite freaky. In terms of what the scorecard success report looked at is what can councils do that will enable more climate action? Obviously, some of those things are quite obvious. Having like political leadership, so a portfolio holder, that's like a councillor who's a climate lead, access to funding, publishing their strategies, having an ambitious target, reporting on their emissions, embedding climate within their risk register was shown that councils that had done that had all achieved higher scores. Interestingly though, if you were a council that had cross-party representation as part of your governing party, you actually scored lower on the scorecards, which was quite interesting. The other thing that we looked at is we produced these infographics which pull out some of the headline stats from the scorecards. We do think that having a climate statutory duty, as there used to be in 2008 to 2010 before being removed by the coalition government, would improve local climate governance and reporting. There is still a statutory duty in Scotland. There is kind of a statutory duty from the public sector in Wales. To give you an example, every Scottish council has to report on their climate action and their emissions. Only about 60% of English councils report on their climate action emissions. So we think that's one of the key benefits. Oh, this is the timeline. Sorry, yeah. We're producing the scorecards again. That happened in 2023. The next scorecards are being launched in June 2025, so they're just coming out. This also kind of demonstrates some of the part of the process and timeline for the scorecards. So we go through a first mark where we work with a lot of the volunteers. We get that right of reply from councils, and then we go through a scoring audit, which we've just finished literally 2 days ago, where we kind of review and make sure the marking is as consistent and as accurate as possible. And then finish. Yeah,
I mean, you've just said this a few slides ago, so we can end exactly on time.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Sweet.